Welcome to forever.
I was at the gym a while back. After my workout, I went into the sauna and I overheard these two older people talking. They were speaking in Spanish and they were talking about how ungrateful their children or grandchildren were. And it got me thinking, or rather reflecting, on all the relationships that all of my friends have with their parents as well as the one that I have with my parents. So some of the points that they were bringing up are that the kids kind of use them and then ghost them, for lack of a better word. But the way that I see it, what is it that these older people did to end up with that kind of relationship with their kids? A lot of the people that I know have strained relationships with their parents, or they're working on repairing their relationship, but very few actually have solid relationships with them. And the reason for that, to my knowledge, is that the parents just kind of make it difficult for kids to really want to open up to them, want to talk to them. And as a result, the parents end up feeling a certain way about that because their kids don't want to talk to them. So, I don't know. I think both sides are right. Both sides are flawed. So let's just kind of take a deeper look into that. For one, at least with old school Mexican parents, there's kind of this, I don't know, stigma, I guess, about wanting to talk about anything. So some people are very open, and I've seen relationships like that, and it surprises me every time that I see it. Just kids that are real open with their parents and they talk about day-to-day activities. And that seems so strange to me because that isn't really what I saw coming up with all my peers. Everyone is kind of reserved, keeps to themselves. They don't really want to talk to their parents. And the reason for that isn't to say that the parents are awful people. It's just that they're not the best kind of people to want to talk to. So, look back at it. Say you're a kid, you're coming up. If you don't remember a lot of your childhood, chances are you were just trying to escape from that childhood. And then if you do remember a lot of your childhood, chances are that childhood was solid. You know, the parents were real friendly to you. The parents wanted to talk to you. You know, that kind of thing. So I'm not really trying to diss anybody. But should you be a parent and every single time that you talk to your kid, you yell at him? Or you just want to talk shit to him, for lack of a better word? Then you can't really be surprised if that kid doesn't want to talk to you as soon as you're able to get out of the house. Or if you're still living with them, then you shouldn't be surprised if they don't want to talk to you at all. You kind of brought it upon yourself. But at the same time, maybe those parents are working a lot. Maybe they're overstressed. It is tough out there. So I do understand that. Maybe they're tired. But still, dude, if you're going to have kids, you got to be able to treat them good. At the end of the day, having kids is a choice. And if you're not ready to make that kind of choice, then don't have them. No one's really prepared to have kids. But the best relationships that I see are the ones with kids who were planned, as opposed to kids that just kind of came up. So I don't know, it's just kind of a small observation that I've made. Maybe a lot of you have also noticed that. But there isn't really much of a solution other than somebody having to step in to be the bigger person and try to repair that relationship if it's already tarnished. But chances are nobody's trying to volunteer to do that. Parents are too shy to do it, or maybe too stubborn, and the kids find it very, very difficult to want to be able to open up to the parents. So a lot of times it just kind of becomes a thing that nobody really speaks on, something that's kind of pushed to a side. The relationship stays strained up until the day that parent dies. that's kind of morbid to think about, but it's a harsh truth. I remember when I was a kid, my parents would tell me about my cousins who were adults already at that time, and how they would never want to reach out to the parents, and they'd only ask them for money and such. And I always thought, damn, those kids are awful. They always kept to themselves. They didn't want to talk to anybody. So I remember thinking to myself, I never want to end up like that. But as I grew up, with my parents, I just kind of started to understand why those cousins didn't want to talk to their parents. And parents make it kind of difficult to want to talk to them in the first place. For the longest time, my solution was to just kind of disassociate, because I remember majority of the time I'd be getting yelled at, and it probably was deserved, but I really can't remember too much of that childhood, and for the most part that was more than likely because I was trying to escape from the situation at hand every single day. And once I made it out of the house, my parents did a 180 with me, and they were a lot kinder and were interested, or seemed interested, in what was going on with my life. But I just, even now, don't really feel comfortable talking to them. And I see the way that they treat my younger sisters, and it seems to me that maybe they're kind of learning, but at the same time they're repeating those exact same mistakes, and my sisters are following in the footsteps, in my footsteps, and following the exact same kind of plan that I had when I was coming up, and that was just to disconnect and not talk at all, because anytime that we would talk, I would just end up getting yelled at. And I imagine that's something of an issue that's happening in a lot of households, and parents don't know why. And like I said before, if every single time that you interact with your child you're yelling at them, then you can't be surprised if that kid doesn't want to talk to you. And then that also helps me reflect, or helps me, just reflect, and then try to understand what it is that I need to do once I decide that I want to be a parent. Because for one thing, I don't want to have my kids young. If you're having your kids, around 18 to 25, you're still developing mentally, you're still trying to figure out a lot of things about yourself and the world around you. And if you bring a kid into that, you're not really prepared to give any kind of advice because you're still trying to figure it out. So it just kind of makes me sad when I see a lot of my peers that I grew up with having kids already. And some of them are cool people, and they know what it is to be a good parent, what it is to be an awful parent, and they try their best not to repeat those same mistakes. But then I see other people my age, and they're having kids, and they're not the best of parents, and I can already foresee how that relationship is going to turn out, what kind of pain both the parent and the kid are going to end up going through throughout the years, because they're deciding to have kids at a young age when they're not ready for them. So if there is any kind of solution, it's to just reflect on the past, try to be the bigger person. If you do want to repair that relationship, no one's under any kind of obligation. But at the same time, you need to be content with whatever happens on the day that that parent dies. Because if the relationship was strained and you feel guilty about it, then you're out of time on being able to repair that. So let that be a question to yourself. Am I content with leaving the relationship as is until the day that they die? Or do I want to fix it now while there's still time? And I'm not trying to push one way or the other. It's just the reality of it. And then with that, just work on yourself, figure out your head, and once you're in a clear state of mind, then you're mentally prepared to have children. Until then, wear a condom. Just don't. If you're under 25, don't have kids. That's all I have. Peace.